Matt, I wanted to ask you about this sort of move to advanced TV that we've all been talking about for years. It seems that the pandemic has accelerated consumer adoption, demand by buyers such as yourselves, which your clients, which might have seen CTV or addressable as sort of fill or some additional reach. Now it's kind of front and center. Give us sort of your view on the mindset of the marketers of the clients of Group M around advanced TV, how they're seeing it, and how you guys are sort of organizing to meet the growing demand.
Well, we've been talking about it for a long time. I always joke about the launch of the iPhone, the smartphone back in 2007. And then from 2008 to 2018, it was going to be the year of mobile. What you saw in that marketplace was that, the consumer adoption of smartphones was there. The ability for marketers to figure out how to engage with those consumers on those devices sort of lagged. And I think we've seen a little bit of that in advanced TV. I do think there's been an acceleration. With COVID, we've seen some of the consumer engagement across these screens, growing dramatically as people are looking for new content, and even if that's an old program that they didn't watch when it was first launched, they're watching it now. I'm a big fan of Friday Night Lights. Never watched it back in the mid 2000s, but I'm watching it now on Hulu. So yeah, I mean, there's the follow the eyeballs. There's a lot of scale there now. There's been an acceleration because of COVID, and because of the proliferation of these new streaming services that are being adopted probably more quickly than even the media companies thought. So all of those reasons, and the fact that you can layer on data and be a little bit more selective with your targeting, I still think it feels like more of a reach extension for traditional TV right now. But we're increasingly spending and investing more and more dollars against advanced TV. And this year's upfront, we probably grew another 25% on top of 25% the year before. So they're meaningful numbers there now.
Now, you guys have been on the bleeding edge of addressable TV for many years, starting out in Modi Media some years back, and the pioneering work in London by Finecast. How do you define addressability, and how will Group M kind of make that happen in the States and globally, and what's the opportunity there?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into globally. I'm going to sort of stick to my knitting here in the US. The reality is, like digital, there are a ton of media companies in this space. There's been a proliferation, obviously, of new streaming services. But there's also, your traditional cable companies and your smart TV guys. And, there are just so many different options right now. And with all those options, unfortunately, it becomes a little bit of a, how do you pull this together in a way that's meaningful for a client? What we're deciding to do is to test all, or as many as make sense for our clients, and then sort of double down and invest with the folks who are delivering the best either extension or the best experience for consumers. We're looking at a combination of those factors as we figure out who the proprietary or preferred partners are in the space. Everyone's in it. That's where everyone's investing dollars, and we're investing right along with them.
What do you look for in a partner like a Xandr or another SSP? There's a number of them, and DSPs, and you certainly have a deep background in the programmatic space. And it's interesting, isn't it, that we've spoken about programmatic all these years, and now it's coming to television. What do you look for in partnerships?
Yeah, it's always unique and advantageous data, basically, and there are really only a few that have unique and advantaged data in the marketplace, in digital or in TV for that matter. So that's what we're looking for, that in access to that data on top of supply that's fraud free and brand safe and available at scale. So it's those combination. Of course, from a technology standpoint, we want a technology partner that allows us to eventually leverage that platform on the platforms with our own traders and bringing our own data science and machine learning to help find audiences at scale for our clients. So it's not that different than what we did at Xaxis or what we did in programmatic. There are a lot of choices out there right now. There are very few that I think have unique and advantaged either technology or data or access to supply.
What about performance and how your clients, Group M's clients, expect performance attribution results through connected TV? The pricing is not cheap. Expectations are high. Where is the value exchange now in broad terms?
Well, I mean, I've encouraged the partners in the space to put some skin in the game and not look for some of the, I think, high premiums that they've traditionally been charging as a way to sort of, incent and compel clients to test it out. There's one thing about the buying of traditional TV is pretty efficient, right? It's pretty efficient. And even with some of the challenges around ratings degradation and prices, the inflation that's been paid, it's still a pretty efficient medium to trade. And so if you want to break into that and have some of those dollars migrate over to either a new platform or a new data set, you're going to have to, seed the water a bit and incent some of those tests. And that's what they're doing. So we're working closely with all the big media partners, as you'd imagine. You mentioned Warner and Xandr earlier. We're doing it with NBC and Disney as well. We're working across some of the more the digital platform guys, the Amazons and YouTubes of the world, Amazon Fire and YouTubes. And yeah, we're looking for efficient and effective media. And we're trying to align that effectiveness against the KPIs that the clients have we worked with the clients on to decide what is the best indication of an engagement that leads to a new customer or new revenue.
Matt, as a follow-up, the upfront, it's been greatly affected this year by so many factors. What does an upfront marketplace look like moving forward?
Well, someone said to me that the upfronts were delayed by 45 to 60 days. And, if you think about the upfronts as a negotiation with the media owners, and it's usually around, obviously, a broadcast year, a calendar year upfront, I would argue that some of those negotiations started on March 12th. And I always want to give a shout out to the media partners who had the empathy, and I think we're looking at their business long-term and had longstanding partnerships. And where certain categories of clients needed flexibility, they were there to partner with their agency and with that client to get them that flexibility that they needed through a difficult time. So that's the first thing. In terms of the rest of the upfronts are is a futures market, and as long as there's an advantage for participating in that futures market, whether that's access to supply or maybe a data set or access to a platform at a preferred price, or to get a better price if you're committing up front for a full year schedule, there will be an upfront. So that's what it feels like to me, is if as long as those things are in line, you're gonna have an upfront. Now, will there be the big sort of parties in New York City where they're taking out Radio City Music Hall and spending several $1 million to promote their new content? I'm not sure that's coming back, and I'll leave that up to the media companies to answer. But the negotiations as we went along and we had more transparency into client budgets and needs, as well as sort of what we thought supply would be and then overall demand. We went into market when we thought it was appropriate because we thought there'd be an advantage for our clients.
And finally, just some thoughts about a little bit of an update on Group M. You guys are operating virtually as we all are. Tell us, how that's going, but more importantly, sort of the role of the media agency, the role of Group M, your evolution. I know there's uh, a lot of forward motion. So tell us what's going on.
Well, I'll start with sort of the working from home kind of thing. I've said this before in some interviews. It's just like I thought proximity, and I still believe proximity does matter. I used to say that to folks who were using Slack to communicate when someone sat 10 feet away from them. That the serendipity to be able to lean back or getting a cup of coffee and bump into someone and have a conversation. That's something I think we do miss. But there's also this this real sense of sort of camaraderie and productivity that I think we've uncovered through this pandemic, and also the agility. I mean, to be able to turn on a dime and start with leveraging technology and having status calls every morning through March, April, May, June with the investment team, and then the idea of like you get to see people at their homes, and kids or dogs or pets, and there was an intimacy there that I think was really, really good in getting to know each other and understand that this is an unusual time and we're all in it together. Um, Look, clients were challenged, agencies were challenged, the media companies were all challenged in a way I don't think any of us could have anticipated back in March, April, again through COVID. And I think that those relationships between agency and Group M and client, and the advantages connected with being part of a group were very apparent to our clients as we were working closely with media partners on flexibility and the moving of firm commitments, firm TV commitments, especially if you remember, like the creative on air late March into April, May was all around Easter and Mother's Day, not appropriate creative messaging when you saw people gathering together, given sort of stay-at-home orders. So I think that that guidance and that steady hand through the pandemic, I think that the media agencies and Group M specifically was very apparent to clients, and I think we all came together and worked in a way that I think is admirable, and I think it's then sort of continued on into the upfront, and more importantly into what happens after the upfront. So we've got new leadership at Group M. I think Christian Jewell, as the global CEO, just enjoyed his 1-year anniversary. Coming from Essence with a digital background and sort of a real deep understanding of audiences and activating audiences and the measurement and insights that come along with that. And then just a short month ago, you've got Kirk McDonald, Xander Warner Media, before that Pugmatic, and going back to the days at Ziff, also really sort of deeply experienced in data-driven media and audiences and the benefits of technology and platforms. So I think what you're seeing is an acceleration of expertise within the group and a very clear North Star of where we want to go as a business. That really does come down to making advertising work better for consumers, and doing that in a responsible way. So, that's been part of what we've been doing for since I've been in the role, and I just think you're going to see more of the same. We launched New Majority Ready over a year ago, within Group M with Gonzalo and his team. We knew the census was coming out. We knew that the shifting demographics were going to be important for our clients to understand, not just what it meant to the business, but the opportunities to engage with, those demographics were increasingly becoming more and more important to their future growth. And then, we just launched a minority-owned marketplace to ensure that those businesses, minority-owned businesses, have the opportunity to grow their business and tell their story as well to some of the biggest brands in the business that are part of our portfolio. So there's a lot of real positive momentum around sort of what the future of media looks like in a responsible way at scale with innovation, and I think that's what Christian set out to do. That's what Kirk's aligned to do, and that's what we're doing right now at Group M and with the agencies we have in the portfolio.